Okay, dear colleagues, my name is Girchenko. I present the Institute of Archaeology and Ethnography, which is located in Novosibirsk, which all of you know well. And many thanks for this great opportunity to present the results of our recent investigations.
Could you do this?
Oh, but not many people, I think. Oh, okay. So, I'm very happy to present the results of our collaboration work with the Institute of Archaeology of the North, which is located in the north of Siberia in Neftelugansk. And here, this institution is presented by the director, Oleg Kardash. So, the ideas I'm going to talk about should not be considered as some kind of strict conclusions. It's a kind of topic for discussion and an invitation for the cooperation for the whole scientific society of Vietnam. So, I will sit.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Okay.
Maybe maybe customer would like to introduce some participants.
Yes,
please.
please.
Tất cả các nghiên cứu chị
Katya.
Đây chị Ekaterina chị làm việc về công tác ở viện
Katya is for short.
viện Hàn Lâm học ở Nga tại Novosibirsk. Trình bày một cái vấn đề, một số về vấn đề về tiền sử đá mới ở Nga, Trung Quốc. Còn Alex is working for
The Institute of the Archaeology of the North.
Như Alex thì là công tác ở viện khảo cổ học ở Đông Bắc, ở phía cực Bắc ấy, lạnh, phía Bắc Nga. Hôm nay thì là trình bày của cô Katerina. Chủ đề ở đây rồi. Còn okay, yeah, I would like to introduce a scholar from Vietnam, also Vietnam, Professor Phạm Minh Nguyên. Measure about the project, especially focus on the bone rock. And Dr. Kim Dung, she's measure about the ornament, nephrite ornament. Dr. Phạm Thị Định, she measure about late Neolithic, maybe similar with you. And tất cả you know right. Anh Kaliba thì là chuyên gia đa cũ, cũng là cùng công tác ở viện khảo cổ học dân tộc học Novosibirsk cùng với cô này. Xin giới thiệu anh tiến sĩ Mạnh. He's working for the Institute of Archaeology in the South, in Ho Chi Minh City. Yeah. And Dr. Mai Hương and Dr. Lê Trình Hiền, historical archaeology. Yeah. And some other some staff also working for our institute. Okay, we to talk. Okay. Sorry. Also, we have served. Yeah.
We have already met.
You know. Sorry.
So, do I need a microphone for speaking or?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so our investigation is dedicated to one of the most important elements of the material culture of the peoples of the north of Siberia. In particular, the forest zone of the north of western Siberia, different types of wicker containers, boxes, baskets, and why we have chosen this particular area of research. It is believed that the ancient men learned how to make wickerware much earlier than master pottery making. And people living on different continents could have significant differences, both in technology, in the form of wickerware, in the methods of weaving flat stripes. So nowadays, in everyday life of the indigenous peoples of the north of Siberia, there is no such thing. But according to the archaeological data, wickerwork from flat, thin stripes was known to the indigenous peoples of the north of Siberia, at least from the 1st century BC, and existed until the 17th century. So for the north of Siberia, it's a specific and very small group of objects decorated with an unusual, a very rare type of ornamentation. So we will present our version of origins of this type of ornament and the reasons for its disappearance. The female needlework, and these wicker containers are mostly for needlework, is one of the most conservative spheres of human activity. Information about technologies, techniques was passed on by women from generation to generation and has remained unchanged for centuries, and the basic ornaments preserved unchanged even when they were transformed to other materials. So these are archaeological sites we're going to talk about and their analogies in Asia. So in the soils of the North of Siberia, the situation when organic materials are preserved in a good condition is extremely rare. So there should be, for example, a frozen cultural layer, and we have some, mainly of Middle Ages. They show a certain continuity of traditions during 500 years. So our main group of Middle Ages is the recent one, because since the beginning of the 18th century, wicker ornaments have completely disappeared from material culture. Wicker goods with bee-color ornamentation from stripes of tree bark or grass were common for the traditional culture of North Asia even earlier than the 13th century, but there are very few such effects. For example, in one of the burials of Nakhod Bay, it's in the north, it's Nelly, there was a woman. She was laid on a wicker mat. Only a small fragment has been preserved. And it was made from strips of birch bark no more than 1 centimeter. So the mat was only under the body at the bottom of the burial, so its size was probably within 50 centimeters and up to 1 meter and 30 centimeters. So it was laid on the bottom of the burial, so it was no longer than the grave pit itself. So this was the earliest example, but I don't have a picture, unfortunately. So one more example, this one, number 1, is found in the Ust-Palui culture. It's already Iron Age, localized in the Yamal-Nenets Autonomous Okrug, so it's Yamal Peninsula. And this is, these two are the earliest examples. Later, boxes, not just some small pieces of wickerware, boxes made of rectangular piece of bark, of a dark side inwards, made using iron sewing needles up to 5 centimeters in length. So the edges were put on each other, sewed together. So they were usually 2 types of ornamentation. So the wicker ones, which were put on a rectangular basis, and scratched ones. So wicker ornaments, of course, are much less common than scratched ones. So and the earliest box with wicker ornament, this one, the earliest box was so the wicker ornament was put on a birch bark basis, and it's the burial number 31, Saigatinsky third burial site. It's the 13th, 14th century. So it was a women burial, so the wicker box was near needle cases, needles, so, and the lid of the box was also filled with rectangular figures. So the remains of wickerwork is, well, the dark thing in the bottom is the remain of the wickerwork. So this find allow us to identify the functional purpose of some of such wicker boxes as the boxes for sewing supplies. So the most numerous example of wicker ornaments is a group of boxes from Nadymski Городок. It's the delta of Nadym River. It's also Yamal-Nenets Autonomous Okrug. It's a defensive residential complex of the 13th till the 18th century. And there we can clearly distinguish trade, ritual, and residential areas. So the collections consist of 15,000 of artifacts, and they can be divided into 250 categories. The population of Nadymski Городок was polyethnic, so the population was divided into several groups with different status. There lived the ancestors of modern hunter and also modern Nenets. So women's sewing accessories were stored in a special leather bags or beach bar boxes. In Nadymski Городок there were about 10 boxes found, dated from the 13th till the 17th centuries. Such wicker boxes for needlework were either round or square, so there are also 3 fragments of small boxes with a wall up to 8 centimeters, on which an ornament of thin birchbark strip of 2 colors, forming alternating rhombuses. And in Nadymski Городок, with the same ornament, were decorated 2 large trays for storage of the bird cherry. The bird cherry was used for medicine. And also this one. A series of fragments that were found made it possible to determine that the shape and the size of these boxes for sewing supplies were stable for at least 500 years. The proportions remained unchanged, from 8 to 16 centimeters, so about from 10 to 20 centimeters. So judging by the Nadymski Городок, wicker ornament disappeared only at the beginning of the 18th century, with the beginning of Christianization, with the arrival of Russians. So these are more examples of wicker work of Nadymski Городок. This one and this one. So later, hunter ornaments scratched on the beer bark, almost 100%. They are usually geometric. They were scratched on the back side of the beech bark, which is dark brown or reddish brown color, and the images themselves were light beige or yellow. So the main principle was the creation of 2-color image. So they are exactly the same with the earlier wicker work containers. So what was the reason for such a stability of geometric ornament? Because, scratching allows you to make 2-tone images of any style, any form. At first I thought that maybe birch bark is not that suitable for drawing round lines or something like that, but no, because we have found this one, this woman sheaf. So as you can see, one side is geometric, has the geometric ornament, and the other side is somehow vegetative. So it's not a problem of adaptation to the material. So the drawing can be any shape, but they are usually geometric. So we think that the reason for the stability of this kind of ornamentation for a long time, first of all, is in transferring of much more ancient symbols formed on the different materials. For example, wicker grass to a new material. What I mean is, you can see it in the next picture. So like this. So the example in the middle, it's the container from Paluski, Cape Town. So and as you can see, it is ornamented with the same ornament. So similar geometric ornaments on different materials. It probably somehow a stable tradition based on wicker ornaments. Wicker geometric composition remained the same even while being made in other technique. So nowadays, the technology of making two-color wicker decoration, not only in the household, but also up to the walls of houses themselves, is one of the characteristic features of many peoples of the solar station. So we can state that at least from the 1st century BC and up to the 17th century, the people of the far north have different items of houseware with ornaments made in technology and in color completely identical to the ones we know from the north of northern Siberia. And the one that we cited can be found in materials of southern China, of Vietnam and other countries of Southeast Asia, which make it possible to draw very cautious conclusions that there are some objects and ornaments that unite all the people of Asia, from the Sea of Okhotsk to Southeast Asia, from Sakhalin and Hokkaido and up to Kalimantan. For example, the ornaments of Nadymsky Gradok that we talked about are exactly the same with the ornaments of the Southeast Asia on the details of the handloom of Li nationality of Hainan Island. So this is the place where we worked this year spring. And this one, these are the belts for stretching the handloom that have a clear gender identity. It's women needlework again. So this ornamentation is stable for Li and common for them and is reproduced by all women. In the ethnographic villages of Li and Miao, Hainan Island, there are handloom belts. All of them have this ornamentation. And that means that this ornament is somehow ethno-determined and certainly has some semantic meaning. So one more. This the women at work at the ethnographic village of Li and Miao. So all of the women have this kind of belt. And what is the semantic of this image? We don't know. So probably, maybe it is a specific solar symbolism, a sign of the sky and a sign of the earth. So moreover, what is interesting, these belts, always decorated with the same ornament, are often not even visible under clothing. So therefore,